Christian theology, the importance of the Christian Bible.
The Christian Bible is the sacred text of Christianity, revealing God's divine nature, will, plan, and the salvation of all humanity from a fallen world. It is divided into two main parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament was formed through the history and covenant of God's chosen people, becoming the foundation of the Jewish faith in Yahweh, the one true God. Its writings first developed from oral traditions and divine inspiration, as contact with Yahweh guided his people to live holy lives according to his will. It records the creation of the universe and the earth, the fall of humankind through sin and disobedience to God's commands and will, God's covenant with Abraham and the promise of a nation protected by God himself, the giving of the law to this nation through Moses, and the ongoing historical struggle of a people who were both faithful and disobedient to God's guidance because of their own free will and earthly desires. The later books of the Old Testament include the prophets, who transmitted God's messages to the nations, spoke his truth, and foretold the coming Messiah, who would bring salvation to humankind. The New Testament fulfills the Old Covenant and its prophecies through the birth, life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who to Christians is God in the flesh. Jesus came into the world as the promised Messiah foretold in the Old Testament. The New Testament books were written by eyewitnesses of Jesus' life and by early followers of the emerging Christian faith. Guided by the Holy Spirit, they were sent out to testify to Jesus' mission, to fulfill God's plan and bring salvation to humankind from this fallen world. The 66 books of the Christian Bible, as recognized today, were affirmed through early church councils such as the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, convened by Emperor Constantine, which also affirmed belief in the Trinity, one divine being in perfect unity of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This is where many non-Christians reject the faith, as they struggle with the belief that God would become human to fulfill his own will and purpose in saving mankind. They also do not accept that the one true God exists in three distinct persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, who Christians believe are all part of the same all-powerful divine being. When we look at the Old Testament and God's promise of a Messiah, many in the Jewish nation expected a deliverer who would overthrow the Roman Empire in Judea and restore their rule over the land. However, Christians believe the Messiah came to establish a new covenant for all humanity, uniting both Jews and Gentiles under one God. Jesus' purpose was not to reclaim an earthly kingdom, but to open the way for all of God's children to enter the heavenly kingdom, freeing mankind from the bondage of sin brought about through free will in this fallen world, and breaking the influence of the devil that leads people to disobey God. Though many other ancient writings exist, the 66 books that form the Bible as we know it reflect God's divine plan. Christians believe that, from beginning to end, it reveals all that is necessary to understand God's love, justice, and salvation for all people through Jesus Christ.